hypermiling, I intend to extend my range so that I won't have to charge my car in places I'd kind of like to skip today. I enjoyed going to all those parks. I'm kind of tired. And I'm thinking about where I would like to overnight tonight, because that's always a part of the Vagabond challenge, just to kind of stash myself in my tiny car somewhere where no one's going to be offended and where no one's going to be in danger, especially me. I'm shifting into neutral. That's part of the hypermiling thing. I'm starting to slow down a little too much. Took her out of gear, and now we're coasting a little faster. See, we're picking up a little speed. I'm putting it back into gear, which slows me down a little bit and starts to feed the battery a little more. If I want to feed the battery a little more, put on the brakes. On the brakes some more. Putting on the brakes and coasting can regenerate the battery, especially if you're coasting in gear. You coast out of gear as a way to try to avoid accelerating. Slow down slowly. So if you know you're going to have to stop, or you know you're going to have to slow down, but a ways in advance, you can just take your foot off the accelerator and you can just shift into neutral, take her out of gear, and coast up slowly. You know, sometimes you can't do that because of the traffic behind you. You always got to take that into consideration. But the more hypermiling you manage, the more you get out of your charge, and the less you might have to charge somewhere you don't want to. The more possible it becomes to go places where there aren't a lot of chargers, such as coastal Sonoma County. Not a lot of chargers. I think the scenery tends to be enjoyable at a slow pace. And it's evening, so there's not much traffic. Other tired drivers have gotten off the road. I'm not quite that tired yet. I'm getting there. So, going downhill and braking. Going downhill in gear. Regenerating, recovering some of the watts used to climb up to this altitude. I mean, elevation. I guess altitude only applies to planes. Not exactly clear, but I believe elevation was the proper word. Whoa, 15 miles per hour on that curve. You can see a lot of vehicles dragged on that turn. I'm glad my hitch rack didn't drag. It has been known to drag every once in a while, usually on a driveway. Looks like a good place to sort of coast down and then coast back up, except for that rough road part. Coasting down, making the curve, Gulch. Put her in neutral right there. I put it in neutral so I can coast more, losing my momentum. Putting it back into drive, hitting the accelerator. So that was a little hypermiling technique there. I'm trying to make the most of momentum and gravity. Right. There's no way I'm going to climb this hill without hitting the accelerator, but I can ease into it. I can try to, get a bit of a running start on this hill by coasting uphill in neutral. So maybe that makes sense, or maybe this, helps to illustrate any article you might have read on hypermiling. currently going 20 miles per hour. I think this is a lovely speed at which to enjoy this bumpy, lumpy road. This spectacular view of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Northern California. Hypermiling and electric vehicle driving can help you slow down the pace of your life and not be in such a hurry. Rushing around is unhealthy. If you don't have to be somewhere at a specific time, that is a luxury. I willingly acknowledge that is a luxury, to be rather unhinged and unfettered, living in the freedom of relative poverty, but it's not, it's a trade-off. Relative money poverty that I'm, needing to vagabond it. At the same time, there's nowhere I particularly have to be right now, so here I am coasting. Well, no, my foot's on the accelerator, but I'm using 0 kilowatts right now, so I'm just maintaining my speed. And I've dropped into negative kilowatts. I could put it in neutral right now, but I'm thinking this is a little too level here, and I'm just gonna slow down too much if I take it out of gear. Whoa, hold on. Bumpity bump. Enjoy the view of rocks and water off to your right. Wasn't really sure why I stopped at the Fort Ross Historic Park, because I didn't really have to, but maybe that will help me to skip some other stop. And one thing it did do is get me off the road around 5 or so, and I like to get off the road during rush hour. Pulled over in Bodega Bay because that's where I remembered being able to get phone service again, and sure enough, I was able to consult my electronic map and plug share app in order to consider my plans. Getting close to San Francisco, you can kind of feel it. I did not charge at the Jenner boat ramp because that's a desperate measure only. Wall outlets of a random nature. Best only used sparingly, if at all. And I believe I no longer have service on my gadget, but I got some much needed perspective on how far I need to go and reminders of what lies ahead. I decided I did not need to stop at Duran Beach. It's late, it was raining, not very warm. Not very inspired to pay the fee. A pretty good charge left, so skipping that and considering heading on to Stinson Beach. A place I have enjoyed charging in the past. Stinson Beach Federal Park, right next to Stinson Beach State Park, I think, and one of them's closed, and kind of set off all those alarm bells in my head when I saw, oh, Stinson Beach Park is closed. I was counting on charging there, but it ended up being a different park or different part of the park that was closed or something. Anyway, the chargers were open. The park was kind of flooded. Restrooms were fenced off. It was kind of apocalyptic, but at the same time, I could charge and I could sit on the beach. And that was glorious. Glorious indeed when I was leaving the big city of San Francisco to be able to sit on the beach and enjoy my breakfast and charge my vehicle for free, I might add. So that's my hope, but my range has been rapidly declining here. I had a really excellent range coming into the Bodega Bay area because of the hypermiling I'd been doing. I've been encountering more traffic, and that makes it harder to drive efficiently. I see sheep off to the right. Sheep. Tsuji. Japanese sheep. Anyway, I'm hoping to make it to Stinson Beach and not stop at the Bear Valley Visitor Center, where last I was there, 2 of the 3 chargers were broken. I checked the app and there's no reason to think that has changed, and that the charger that does work is awfully slow, like somewhere between a level 1 and a level 2 charger. I mean, technically it's called a level 2 charger, but it's painfully slow, and that's fine, you know, if you want to spend some time hiking and enjoying the beautiful park, but I'm not feeling all that inspired right now by the location. I'm kind of too tired to appreciate it, and not wanting to confront broken chargers in case the one that does work is in use, which has happened to me before. It's kind of a popular spot to charge, partly because it's free, partly because it's in a park, and partly because of its proximity to the San Francisco Bay Area. So, trying to resume my hypermiling techniques here so I can make my charge hold long enough to make, I believe it was 47 miles from Bodega Bay to Stinson Beach. Right now my range is 67 miles, which looks favorable, but it's pretty hilly. And range is really just a fantasy. You know, it's a number that the car computer projects. But it's not a reality. It's an idea. Perhaps on the range you have, 71%, you may drive 67 miles if you continue doing more or less what you've been doing, just hypermiling. And if the terrain remains more or less as it's been, hilly, and if your weather stays more or less as it is, mid-50s, sprinkly rain, you know, and I'm not sure I can count on these things, but right now I'm counting on these things, and I can reconsider as I approach the Bear Valley Visitor Center if I need to charge there or not. The EVagabond video blog is sponsored by the Dao Fawu Monastery.